All right, hello and welcome to our podcast, Overcoming Language Hurdles, where we talk about the challenge of learning English and other international language in a way that's easy to understand. I'm your host, Josephine, and today we're diving into the fascinating world of language learning. Joining me is Jovita Aurelia, an experienced language student who's here to share some valuable insights. Welcome, and how are you, Jovita?
Hello everyone. I'm very good today. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here and discuss this important topic.
All right, now let's jump into this topic of learning English that it can be tough for many people. What are some common difficulties that learners face when trying to master the English language?
Okay, so one of the biggest challenges learners encounter for me is pronunciation. English can be tricky because the way words are spelled doesn't always match how they sound. Another difficulty is grammar. English has a lot of rules, but it also has many exceptions, which can be confusing. And let's not forget about vocabulary. There are so many words in English, and learning them all takes time and effort.
I agree, those are definitely some major hurdles. Now, when it comes to learning other international language, what are some additional challenge that learners might face?
Well, it really depends on the language you are learning. For example, language like Chinese or Japanese have characters that are completely different from the alphabet we use in English. Learning to read and write these characters can be quite challenging. And then there are languages like Arabic or Russian that have different grammar structures than English. Understanding these structures and how they work can take some time. Plus, there's always the cultural aspect to consider. Every language is tied to a culture, and understanding that culture can be crucial for truly mastering the language.
Okay, I see now. Uh, for you yourself now, how do you think these learners can overcome those challenges and succeed in their language learning journey?
Okay, so first and foremost, practice and always practice. The more you use the language, the more comfortable you will become with it. Try to immerse yourself in the language as much as possible by watching movies, listening to the music, and reading books in that language, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. Mistakes are a natural part of the learning process, so don't let them discourage you. Finally, find a language partner or join a language group where you can practice speaking with others who are also learning in the same language.
Alright, I agree with you. Those are very some excellent strategies, Jovita. Now, it's clear that practice and immersion plays a very crucial role in this language learning success. Now, let's deal with it deeper into the aspect of cultural immersion. You mentioned earlier that how understanding the culture associated with a language is important. Could you elaborate on why culture immersion is beneficial for language learners?
Okay, thank you for the question. Absolutely, cultural immersions allows language learners to gain a deeper understanding of the language they are studying. Language and culture are intertwined, so by immersing yourself in the culture of the language you're learning, you gain insight into the customs, traditions, and values of its speakers. This not only enhances your language proficiency but also fosters cultural sensitivity and empathy. Plus, cultural immersion can make the learning experience more enjoyable and meaningful as you are not just learning words and grammar but also gaining a broader perspective of the world.
I must say this is a very fascinating perspective because it's quite new for me too. Now, so far for our listeners who are eager to incorporate this culture immersion into their language learning journey, what are some practical ways that they can do so?
There are many ways to immerse yourself in the culture of a language. One option is to consume media in the target language, for example, English, such as watching movies, TV shows, or listening to music or podcasts. This exposure to authentic language usage and cultural reference. Additionally, reading books, newspaper, or magazines in the target language can provide valuable insights to the culture. Another idea is to participate in cultural events or activities such as festivals, language exams, or cooking classes. And of course, if possible, traveling a country where the language is spoken can offer the ultimate cultural immersion experience.
I agree. Diving into head on into a country where the language is very different might be the bestest way for you to can get uh, you know, more of this cultural immersion. Now, it is inspiring to see how diverse and immersive language learning can be. Now, let's shift a bit and discuss the role of motivation in language learning. Now, staying motivated can be challenging, especially when faced with setbacks or even places in the progress. Now, what advice do you have for learners who are struggling to stay motivated?
Okay, so motivation is indeed crucial for language learning success. One strategy is to set specific achievable goals for yourself, whether it's mastering a certain number of vocabulary words, completing a language course, or having a conversation with a native speaker. Breaking down your language learning goals into smaller, manageable tasks can make them feel more attainable and keep you motivated along the way. Additionally, finding source of inspirations such as learning about the culture or connecting with other language learners can help us to reignite your passion for learning.
Ah, I see. So, small by small. All right. Okay. Setting achievable goals and finding sources of inspiration can definitely help learners stay on track. Now, do you have any final thoughts or words of encouragement for our listeners who are embarking on their language learning journey?
Absolutely, I would encourage all language learners to embrace the journey and enjoy the process of learning. Language learning is a rewarding endeavor that opens doors to new opportunities, connections, and experience. Don't be discouraged by setbacks or challenges along the way. Instead, view them as opportunities for growth and improvement. And remember, every step you take towards mastering a new language brings you one step closer to becoming a global citizen with the ability to communicate and connect with people from diverse backgrounds.
Those are some good spoken words. Now, Jovita, I'd like to ask you about any resources or tools that you found particularly helpful in your language learning journey. Are there any apps, books, or even websites that you would recommend to our listeners?
Okay, so there's so many great resources out there for language learners. One application that I've found really helpful is Duolingo. It's a fun and interactive way to practice vocabulary, grammar, and pronunciation in a variety of language. Another app that I've used is HelloTalk, which connects you with native speakers around the world for language exchange. It's a fantastic way to practice speaking and improve your conversational skills. As for books, Learn Forever by Gabriel Weiner. It's a fantastic resource for learning language effectively. And The 4-Hour Chef by Tim Ferriss offers some great tips and techniques for language learning. And of course, there are countless websites and online resources available from language learning forum to online course and tutorials. The key is to find resources that resonate with your learning styles and interests and to incorporate them into your daily practice routine.
All right, those are very excellent recommendation. Thank you for sharing with us. Now, Jovita, it is wonderful to have such a wide range of resources available to support language learners on their journey. And speaking of support, do you have any final words of encouragement for our listeners who may be feeling overwhelmed or even discouraged in their language learning efforts?
Yes, of course. I would encourage our listeners to remember that language learning is a marathon, not a sprint. It's normal to encounter and challenges and setbacks along the way, but each obstacle you overcome brings you one step closer to fluency. Stay patient, motivated, and don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it. And most importantly, remember to enjoy the process. Learning a new language opens up the world of possibilities and enrich your life in so many ways. So keep going, keep exploring, and never give up on your language learning goals.
I agree. We need to enjoy our uh our journey in learning about it. Now, can we touch more on the importance of staying motivated in this language learning? We've discussed that there are various challenges and strategies, but maintaining motivation can be a significant hurdle. Now, what are some techniques or even practice that you recommend for staying motivated throughout the language learning journey?
Okay, so that's a great question. Staying motivated is indeed crucial for language learning success. One technique I find effective is setting clear, achievable goals. Whether it's mastering with a specific grammar concept, building vocabulary in a certain topic area, or reaching a certain level of fluency, having concrete goals helps to keep you focused and motivated. It's also helpful to break larger goals into smaller, manageable tasks so you can track your progress and celebrate your achievement along the way.
I see. So, setting a very smart goal, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. It is a fantastic approach to staying on track. Now, what else do you recommend for maintaining motivation?
Okay, so another technique is to make language learning fun and engaging. Find activities or resources that you genuinely enjoy and that align with your interests, whether it's watching movies or TV shows in the target language, playing language learning games, or exploring topics that fascinate you. Incorporating enjoyable activities into your study routine can help keep you motivated and eager to learn. Additionally, connecting with a supportive community of language learners can provide encouragement, accountability, and inspiration. Whether it's joining online forums, participating in language exchange group, or attending language meetups, surrounding yourself with like-minded individuals can make the learning process more enjoyable and motivating.
Ah, I see. Thank you for your advice. Now, making language learning enjoyable and tapping into the support of a community can certainly help to keep your motivation level up. Now, let's discuss more on the role of consistency in language learning. How important is it for learners to maintain a consistency study routine? And what strategies do you recommend for building this consistency?
Okay, so for me, consistency is absolutely key in language learning. Learning a new language is a cumulative process, and regular practice is essential for retaining information and making process. I recommend establishing a study routine that works for your study schedule and lifestyle, whether it's setting aside a specific time each day for language study or maybe incorporating language practice into your daily activities. Consistency is key. It's also helpful to vary your study methods to keep things interesting and avoid burnout. Mix and match activities such as listening, speaking, reading, and writing to engage different language skill to keep your study sessions dynamic and more effective in learning English.
Well, that sounds like a very good advice. Now, consistency and variety in study methods can certainly help learners stay engaged and make a steady progress. Now, if we're touching on the concept of resilience in the language learning, as a learn as a learner encounters obstacles or setbacks, how can they cultivate on this resilience and persist in their language learning efforts?
So, cultivating resilience is essential for overcoming challenges in language learning. It's important to adopt a growth mindset and view setbacks as opportunities for learning and growth rather than failures. When faced obstacles, it's helpful to break them down into smaller, more manageable tasks and approach them with a problem solving mindset. Additionally, seeking support from peers, mentors, or language teachers maybe can provide encouragement and guidance during difficult times. Remember that progress in language learning is not always linear, and it's okay to take breaks or adjust your approach as needed. The key is to stay resilient, stay focused on your goals, and keep moving forward one step at a time.
I see. Wise word. Thank you very much. So, resilience and a growth mindsets are invaluable qualities for language learners to cultivate. Now, before we conclude our conversation, is there anything else that you would like to add or any final thoughts that you would like to share with our listeners here?
Okay, thank you. I'd just like to encourage our listeners to embrace the journey of language learning fully. It's a process filled with ups and downs, challenges and rewards, but it's also incredibly encouraging and fulfilling. Approach language learning with curiosity, patience, and perseverance. And don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone. Whether you're learning a new language for travel, work, or personal enrichment, the skills you gain and the connections you make along the way are valuable. So keep learning, keep exploring, and never give up on your language learning goals. Happy learning, everyone!
Okay, thank you, Jovita, for sharing your expertise and insight with us today. Your passion for language learning is truly contagious, and I'm sure our listeners have found our conversation both informative and inspiring. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us. We hope you found this discussion helpful as you continue on your own language learning journey.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure sharing my experience and tips with you and our listeners. I wish everyone the best of luck on their language learning adventures.
All right, thank you everyone. And thank you for tuning in. We hope you found this conversation informative and motivating. Remember, with dedication, perseverance, and the right resources, you can achieve your language learning goals. Until next time, happy language learning.